Hey, what's up, everyone? My name is Trent. This is Rams Talk. Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. To all the new subscribers, thanks for jumping on board and joining the community. Glad to have you. For all the legacy subscribers, you guys are awesome. I feel like you're all my friends that I've never met in person, because you are. And for anyone watching this for the first time and wants to subscribe and get great Rams Talk, please jump on board. Love to have you. Join the community. A lot of great people in here. A lot of great stuff. So that would be awesome. You can also find me on Twitter at RealLARamsTalk. So getting into this game, I'm sure we all know that this has been moved to Los Angeles from Mexico City. So if you're in LA, that's great news for everyone that bought tickets and made travel plans down to Mexico. That kind of sucks. But we can all blame Shakira. Apparently, Shakira had a couple of concerts about a month ago, and everyone just wrecked the grass, and it just never really recovered. I mean, Shakira's hips have been wrecking guys for like the last 15 to 20 years, and now they've officially wrecked a football stadium. So I see you, Shakira. I see you. Now, moving on to the game, the Rams have allocated or given away 3,500 tickets for first responders to the fires and some victims. So that's another class move by the Rams. They've already done a great job with the team and the employees that have lived in that area and all the victims of the shooting. So another class move by the Rams. This is between the Rams and the Chiefs. We all know that this is like a mega showdown. Both teams 9-1. But in terms of all-time series, the Chiefs own it 7-4. So if the Rams win this game, then it kind of closes the gap. Not really super rival, but, still, I want to beat the Chiefs. Now, a lot has been made. I think everyone knows that this is an offensive showdown, and defenses are taking a back seat. And Rams fans, the Rams defense have been very hit and miss, if you will. It's great. On one end, we have Aaron Donald and all those guys, but Marcus Peters has been a whipping boy, Troy Hill whipping boy, run defense. But the Rams defense gives up 55 fewer yards per game than the Chiefs, and most of that is in the passing game. In terms of run defense, the Rams and Chiefs are ranked like 23rd and 24th. So they're like right there, like the difference of a yard. So about the same in giving up rushing plays. But the Rams' pass defense has actually been better than the Chiefs. So there's that. A couple of interesting little tidbits. Corey Littleton is third in the NFL in tackles. Corey Littleton. Who would have thought, right? So he's doing a hell of a job at inside linebacker and kind of just everywhere on the field, just tackling, and feel like he's just always in the mix. So in terms of Rams defense, I really don't have an issue with Corey Littleton. Corey Littleton's been a breakout player this year. Also, interesting fact, Robert Woods and Brandon Cooks are the only two receivers on the same team with over 800 yards each this season. So Sammy Watkins and Tyreek Hill, no, they're not that. Even Travis Kelce's not there. So that's a great combo to have. We lost Cooper Kupp, but we still have a really great combo in receivers there. Another interesting tidbit, Kansas City is the most penalized team in all of football with 84 penalties compared to the Rams with 55. It's about 30 penalty difference. So if that trend continues, look at the Chiefs getting a lot of flags called against them and thrown against them. And hopefully the Rams don't repeat what they did last week when they had 10 penalties for over 100 yards and kind of lost their composure. So I feel like they'll rebound in that regard. And what's even crazier about that is Austin Blythe and Rob Havenstein have not been called for a penalty or a flag in 672 snaps. Like, that's crazy. I hope I didn't jinx it, but that's just what's going on there. And so kind of some interesting, crazy things. Also, Chiefs in the red zone. So they're not good with penalties, but they're really great in the red zone. They're like top 3, top 4 team in terms of scoring touchdowns in the red zone. So the Rams, really have to limit that. Hopefully they keep them out of the red zone as much as possible. But in terms of the key matchups here, I think we all know, like, every time the Rams play, Aaron Donald is going to, other teams have to account for him. And that matchup will always favor Aaron Donald. And I think it will especially favor Aaron Donald this week because the Chiefs are on their third string center and their second string guard. So if you put Aaron Donald, that's really where he lines up. If you put him right there, I think he's going to mow those guys over. Even their left tackle, Eric Fisher, he hasn't been amazing. And last week he got owned by Chandler Jones on the Cardinals. So, I mean, typically I think that's where Michael Brockers would be, but I don't know if they're going to mix and put Dante Fowler over there and kind of shift the line around, because I almost feel like in terms of just a pure pass, getting after it, pass rush, Dante Fowler against Eric Fisher will be a good matchup in the Rams' favor. So I really feel like the Rams' defensive line against the Chiefs' offensive line favors the Rams. Now, the Chiefs' right tackle, Schwartz, that guy's been a rock. So it's like that's their best offensive lineman by far. So I wouldn't put Fowler on him. Kind of like I would go and exploit their weaknesses. So that's real key. And I think the real weakness for the Chiefs defensively overall is just up the middle. So up the middle, with their in their defensive line, but also in their in their offensive line, but also in their linebackers. So Todd Gurley, another key matchup is Todd Gurley. He's the number one rusher in football in terms of yards. The Chiefs give up the most yards per carry at 5.1. So it kind of makes sense. Todd Gurley going to be involved heavily. You want to keep time of possession. Todd Gurley. Their linebackers in the past have played better than they're playing now. Not playing well against the run. Hitchens and Ragland really haven't been performing well against the run, so I feel like Todd Gurley is really going to exploit that. Plus, they haven't been playing well in coverage either, so you can kind of take advantage of them like they did with Anthony Barr, Minnesota. Line up in the slot, screens, jet sweeps, the motion. I really feel like this is going to be the Todd Gurley game to shine. I think every week he shines, but this is like he really can exploit the weaknesses of the Chiefs. And then if you even go further in the middle, their safeties really haven't been playing that well this year. They lost Eric Berry. No timetable for him to return. So I think you notice that the Rams, Goff is like completing most of his passes in the middle of the field. They're not like stretching it, just bombing it down the sideline. So that's going to be interesting to see how they work the middle of the field, especially with Everett and Higbee, the tight ends, who have really emerged, and they're going to have to continue to emerge with the loss of Cooper Kupp, who kind of works the middle of the field as well. Robert Woods works the middle of the field, but he should be shadowed by Kyle Fuller, who's their best cornerback, who also lines up in the slot. So expect to see a lot of Woods versus Fuller, and that's going to be another key matchup to look at. So that's going to be two top dogs going at each other. In terms of the Chiefs' strengths, and I'm taking Goff and Mahomes out of the strengths because they kind of cancel each other out. We both know what we're getting with them. So we're looking at other areas. So the defensive line for the Chiefs is the real deal. They're outside linebackers who line up kind of like the Rams. You have Justin Houston and D. Ford, I believe. And Ford has 9 sacks on the year. And Chris Jones, who's more on the interior, he has 7 sacks on the year. And Houston was out for a bunch of games. He has 3 sacks, but if he had played a full season, he'd have more. So those guys, they got after it against Arizona. Yeah, it's Arizona. Everyone gets after it on Arizona. But D. Ford against Rob Havenstein, key matchup. He hasn't been called for a penalty this year, so let's see what happens. And then Chris Jones against Roger Saffold, with probably John Sullivan chipping in. So, and then Houston going to be on the other side, maybe against Whitworth. So pressures, sacks, going to be key on both sides. I feel like Goff and Mahomes are going to do what they're going to do, but how's the pressure? How's each team's defensive line applying pressure, and how are they affecting that? And how the safety valves like Gurley and Kareem Hunt going to play into that? Another key matchup is I feel like every week the Rams are playing a pretty solid tight end. Travis Kelce, probably the best in the league, behind Zach Ertz, or he's right there in the mix. He will probably match up against John Johnson. So John Johnson's really solid, having a great year for the Rams, and I trust that. And Travis Kelce gets a lot of his yards after the catch. So it's not so much him, catching a 20-yard pass. It's him catching a shorter pass and making something of it. So another John Johnson. I feel confident in John Johnson stepping up. The one area where the Chiefs really have an advantage over the Rams is Tyreek Hill versus Marcus Peters. Yes, Marcus Peters used to play on the Chiefs, and they have epic training camp and preseason battles going back to a couple of years ago. But Tyreek Hill is very special. He's not just a burner deep threat guy, which he is, but he also is really good at running routes. His route tree is really good. So Marcus Peters loves to bite on the double move. I expect Tyreek Hill to double move him like nobody's business. So I'm hoping that Marcus Peters does not bite, and that I'm not saying he's going to keep up with him in a foot race, but I would really try like for him to contain Tyreek Hill, keep the lid on, so Tyreek Hill isn't just blowing right past him. LaMarcus Joyner is probably going to help out a lot. Then you have Sammy Watkins on the other side, and that's going to be Troy Hill, or Nickel Roby-Coleman, depending on where they're on the field. So Marcus Peters, please, I'm asking you personally, if you bring it for one game this year, let this be the game. This would be a great payback game against the Chiefs. I don't think he really likes Andy Reid anymore. So that's something to just really cross your fingers on. And then another wild card is Kareem Hunt. But I feel like, he's very dynamic in being able to catch and run the ball, but he's not just going to pound the rock. They're not going to pound the rock like Seattle does. So in terms of Goff and Mahomes, Mahomes last week kind of had a difficult time, I guess, if you could say that about him. One of his worst games of the season. That's because the Cardinals applied a lot of pressure. They sacked him like 5 times. So if the Rams can sack and they can get in the backfield, that will really do the damage. This is, I think, I don't know if this is the first game ever where you have both quarterbacks are 1 and 2 in terms of passing yards. So that's awesome. Both teams average 6.9 yards per play, which is crazy. And I think this is the highest over-under mark, 63.5, of any game in the NFL, maybe ever, or at least on Monday night. So I think this game is really going to come down to at the end is time of possession. If the Rams can really dictate the flow with using Todd Gurley and keep the Chiefs offense off the field, if Peters can hold Tyreek Hill in check, I'm not saying shut him down by any means, give him 100 yards, no TDs, then they have a great chance. And also, it's going to be a turnover battle. How many penalties is Kansas City going to have, and how many sacks? So I mean, those are all like they're not the traditional receiving yards, passing yards, touchdowns, but they're like the real giveaways, takeaways, loss of downs, unforced errors, stupid mistakes. I think that's really what's going to come to this, and I hope Ram fans really show up. In fact, I'll be showing up. I'll be there. So if you're at the game, I don't know how you're going to find me. I'm going to be way up, nosebleeds, but I'm going to be there, give it my all, and I think the crowd's going to really show up. I don't think there are going to be as many Kansas City fans, and I like the Rams' chances more than I did against the Saints. I feel like the Saints were a little more sound than the Chiefs are. They're not going to beat themselves, better offensive line, but I wouldn't be surprised if Aaron Donald had like 3 sacks. I really wouldn't. So anyways, that's my take. Let me know what you think. If you liked it, please subscribe. I'd like to thank everyone for watching, all your support, and as always, go Rams.